Are we ready?
So ready, go.
All right.
We're recording.
Well, welcome everyone. This is Rene with my cycling buddy Tommy O'Donnell, and we are about 560 miles into this trip.
Yeah.
And today we crossed Lake Michigan
Oh, wow.
from Manitowoc, Wisconsin to Ludington, Michigan on the SS Badger, which we learned was a national landmark because it's really the only steamship still running on coal on the Great Lakes as a car ferry. So it was a 4-hour crossing. A lot of fun.
It was awesome, yeah.
So we have now gone through, or we've reached our 4th state this year, and I think we're about 11 states in on this cross-country trip for North Lawndale College Prep. So Donnie, and how do you pronounce your last name, Donnie? Is it Boivin?
Oh, you got it right. Wow, I'm impressed.
Yeah.
Nobody ever does that. So,
Well, my name's been mispronounced my entire life, so, I'm very sensitive.
It's kind of like the whole boy named Sue thing. I get it.
Okay, you had to bring that up.
Tommy should have warned you about me.
I'm still scarred, but I'm getting over it. I always wondered why my mother named me Rene, and it actually served me well. People have a hard time forgetting that name after they meet you. All right. So you have today's question. We're going to kind of get started with today's question from a student at North Lawndale. Have you think about that a little bit, and then we have some questions that we want to ask you to get to know you a little bit better and your experience with leadership, which I know is going to be interesting.
Yeah. All right. So here you go, Donnie. This question is from Brandy Stonewall at North Lawndale, and Brandy asks, "How does a boss handle an unsatisfied employee? How can an employee bring issues up with a supervisor in a productive way?" So think about that one, and then we'll get back to that question.
Okay.
Then I know you're itching to answer it right now, but
you know me, man. I'm like, I've got an encyclopedia ready to roll with it.
Yeah. And Brandy was pretty sneaky there with a 2-part question.
2 questions in there.
Yes, 2. She just thought, what the heck, I'm going to get 2 questions in one in there. So Brandy, well done.
Yeah. That's an overachiever.
Yeah. So Donnie, we'd just like to start off by, just getting to know you a little bit in terms of your background. So tell us a little bit about where you're from, where you grew up, and, your journey in business and your take on leadership.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's kind of a fun story. My dad was an over-the-road truck driver. Mom worked in factories. So up until about age of 5, we went wherever the work was. So I was born in Florida, but between there we hit Atlanta, Georgia, Colorado, Michigan, and then we hung our hat in Kansas when I turned 5. And dad went really open road truck driver at that point. And mom was, I can remember growing up, was actually working in a factory and McDonald's at the same time. And my oldest brother also had a job. I was just getting started to throw hay bales in the back of trucks, right around 5, 6 years old. And if you think a 5 or 6-year-old can throw a hay bale, you're crazy. So my job was really to point, hey, there's a hay bale. I mean, but we grew up there until about age 11. Then I moved to Texas, and I tell everybody I'm pretty much from Texas. So I've lived here, through high school, graduated high school, jumped off into the Marine Corps, did 4 years there, and they kind of knocked the snot out of me, got the chip off my shoulder a little bit. And then I jumped into sales, and I spent 20 years in the sales game. The last 7 years of that career was a national award-winning sales trainer, whatever the heck that means. And I worked with some of the largest companies in the world, working with their sales teams, and did a lot of small, medium-sized companies, developing sales processes and sales divisions. And then in 2017, if you've ever read the book E-Myth, I got the entrepreneur hiccup.
Sure.
And I thought I should jump out of my own and start my own company. So I jumped out and started Success Champions. And flash forward now, I'm one of the top podcasters in the world with a podcast called Success Champions. got beat up quite a bit learning how to be a business owner and transitioning from an employee mindset to a business owner mindset. And I've had the privilege of running several nonprofits and being on several boards. And I'm the guy that grew up in a blue collar lifestyle. So leadership for me is the guy willing to roll up his sleeves and get in the trenches, not to do all the dirty work, but to show he's willing to still put in the time and doing it. And I think if you are not creating other leaders, you're just playing the game wrong. Because I don't remember who first coined that phrase that just, the definition of a leader is somebody who can develop other leaders. But I've tried to live by that for quite a few times. And then last thing, if you're not joking and smoking and having fun, then what the heck are you doing it for?
There you go. So what's the most valuable lesson that you've learned through all your experiences that you would want to share with the students?
Yeah, go screw up. And go screw up a lot. I don't think anybody ever fails at anything. I think they quit. And I think if you persevere through it and do what I say is just go get punched in the face by life, because you're learning from those mistakes, you're learning from those screw ups. It's amazing how you can overcome and learn so many things, because it's not really about overcoming the mistake, the failure. It's really more about who you become on that journey. And when you actually look to go screw things up, meaning learn something, man, life gets so much simpler, because you start taking away the fears and you start taking away the self-doubts. And when you gain knowledge because you adamantly went and tried to learn it, and knowing you're going to break things along the way, your life just gets so much more complete. It took me a lot of years to learn that lesson, though. I always wanted the shortcut.
Right. Yeah.
Well, they say that success is a bad teacher.
Yes. Well,
it's an old Chinese proverb, but the Chinese seem to have lots of those.
Yeah. Well, and that was, a great example is when I launched my company, I picked up a lot of clients very, very quickly. And I thought, oh, this is it. Why didn't I do this years ago? Well, those were all friends and friends and friends, that were going to follow me no matter what I did. But after I ran out of friends, I had to figure out how to be a business owner. So, success is a horrible teacher. That's a great way of putting it. I'm going to borrow that one.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. So, you've been a real sales pro your whole life. What's the secret to selling? If you had to, what is it about that?
What one word, and it comes down to trust. I know in the self-help world, they talk about know, like, and trust, but for me, it comes down to simply trust. And it's about being authentically yourself and having real conversations with people. Tell them if you can help them. Tell them if you can help them. Right. And, but get to that level of conversation where it's not just about your products and services. It's about what you're accomplishing for that person. And when you can help anybody overcome some sort of pain, problem, solution, anything else, and you can show them how your product and service can fill that need, and don't go for the transactional sale. Don't go for the immediate sale. Because there's a lot of gurus in the marketplace when you talk about sales. They're like, get it done, get that sale done, always be closing, and all these other crazy things you hear. Throw all that stuff in the trash. Go build relationships.
Yeah.
And people that you can hang out with forever.
Yeah. Yeah.
Some of my best clients over the years are still some of my best friends. Don't make a friend first. Build a relationship. Go get the client and then make a friendship.
Yeah.
So the movie Glenn Ross, obvious winners, right?
Yeah, chalked it up there with the Boiler Room and some of the other ones as well. Don't use those as training films.
Yeah, right. So who's been the biggest influence on your life?
Really easy and simple. The biggest transition in my life was my old man, my dad. At the age of 14, he handed me a book called Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill.
Yeah.
And of course, like any good 14-year-old, I didn't read it till I was 22. Uh, and I won't say that book changed my life, other than the fact that it opened me up to the world of leadership principles. And there was people that actually taught the things that I didn't, know how to do. Like, when I got into sales, I had no clue how to be a sales guy. And that's the whole reason I picked up the book, because I'm like, okay, somebody's got to teach this somewhere.
Mhm.
But that opened up the door to start seeking knowledge and start seeking mentors and coaches. And that's been the secret of my success all along the journey. I've had coaches, but really more finding mentors, finding, guys like Tommy that I can call up and have a conversation with and make fun of. And, in a share snippet of information that he'll leave with me with sometimes, it changes the dynamic portion of my business. And it's finding people like that you can connect with and surround yourself with. Outside of that, man, it's gosh, so many mentors, guys that have carved the path down the direction I want to go. I'm pretty bullheaded, so I usually want to sit at the campfire, but my pants are bigger than theirs is the way I always think. But I'm really learning by osmosis as I sit around the fire.
Yeah.
Very good. So are we ready for the question of the day?
All right. Yeah.
Are you ready for the question of the day?
We're going to figure it out.
It's interesting. This book by Napoleon Hill, and if our listeners haven't read that, it really is one of those gems. I think it's been mentioned at least, 3 times?
My dad, same as you, Donnie. My dad, gave me the book or read the book and then told me all about it. And it's one of his favorites too.
Yeah, and Michael Gerber's book, the E-Myth has been mentioned. Sure.
Well, it's those books that break things down big bird style. And, I'm a Marine. I'm not, a huge reader anymore. I do a lot of audiobooks. But when you get a book like that, that's just so simple to comprehend.
Yeah.
Points everything out in black and white. I just love that style of book.
Yeah. All right.
Here we go with Brandy's two-part question.
Brandy's two-part question is, how does a boss handle an unsatisfied employee?
Let's handle that one first, and then we'll grab
All right. All right.
One at a time. All right.
So how a boss handles an unsatisfied employee is, one, I usually find that if you're unsatisfied with what they've done, it's usually because the leader has not dictated or said very well what they need to accomplish. I always like to take that employees screwing up is 100% my fault. Right. And I just know that if I can sit down with that individual and walk them through how I screwed up and not explaining myself very well, what needs to be done, and taking ownership in that process. What's fun about that is you're legitimately telling an employee that they need to do it a better way, but by you taking the blame on it, they don't get hurt. Their feelings don't get destroyed. They don't get beat down, in the process. And they actually usually want to step up and help you more, because they will start taking ownership that it was really their fault, that they should have done more, even though you're taking ownership of it all the way through. It's a really fun way to handle it.
Yeah.
That's great. And what's the second part of it?
So how can an employee bring issues up with the supervisor in a productive way?
For me, it's always asking questions. I don't like it when people come up and say, hey, this is horrible, this is broken, this is bad, this is not working. I instead would rather somebody come up and go, hey, Donnie, have you thought about looking at this? Or, as we're working on this, we've noticed a few things here. Because what you don't want to do is point blame on anybody or point any bad vibes towards anybody else. So you bring it up in the form of a question, because there's good leaders and bad leaders. A good leader is going to acknowledge that and say, hey, that's a great point, let's look at it. But a bad leader may take it personally if you bring something up. But if you do it in a form of a question, you're never looking at him and saying, hey, this is broken, this is screwed up. You're saying, hey, have we thought about looking at it a different direction? So it's a fun way to play corporate politics, if you will. Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah.
So do you have a question for
Do I have a question
For
for
Donnie.
Donnie?
Yeah, because Tommy's so good when you put him on the spot. So,
Yeah.
See, I've been doing that for 10 days, and I haven't been able to stump him yet. He's pretty quick. He's pretty quick
All right. So
because you've known Donnie a long time.
yeah. So I am kind of curious then about the going a little bit back to the sales
Mhm.
part of your experience and tying it into leadership. How would you, because there's like this I guess when you think of a really good salesperson, right? You don't typically think of a team player. You think of like the all-star in a sense, like they're out there kind of closing deals left and right. They're wheeling and dealing and whatever.
Right.
Is like, how would you tie sales into leadership and building more of that team approach to sales?
Well, I'll tell you, we call those salespeople lone wolves.
Uh-huh.
And no corporation will survive ultimately with lone wolves.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason being is because once that lone wolf is gone, those accounts are gone.
Mm-hmm.
Because what people don't understand in sales is the salesperson owns the clients, not the company. Because the salespersons have the relationships. So even with getting technical, non-competes and all that stuff in this day and age, the salesperson owns the accounts. So what I tell people, and it's fun nowadays, that sales has actually transitioned and evolved to where your middle of the road salesperson, that's not the lone wolf, that's not the aggressive closer, but it's not just the order taker type person, the one that's trying to give it a go, is in a prime spot right now, because with technology and everything else, everything's gone to such relationship sales over the years, and you really need somebody that can go in and rub elbows with people, not the wine and dine cocktails and parties and all that, but go in and build ongoing, lasting relationships.
Yeah.
And the great thing about those middle of the road type people is they're typically company men and women, so they'll stick with you longer because they know how much work it's taking them to get the deals done now. They don't want to go start over someplace else. So it's really good to build culture. So as a leader, I think, from a sales perspective, is you got to know the strengths and weaknesses of your players, and you've got to align their objectives with their personality traits. Like the lone wolf guy, if you look at him and say, hey, I need you to fill out your CRM, I need you to fill out all this paperwork and all this stuff, he's going to balk on you every time. He doesn't want to mess with all that. He ain't got time. Just let me go close deals.
Right.
But you get the middle of the road guys and you tell them, hey, part of your, success is the ability to get all this stuff done. Then you will 100% start creating a culture that allows the company to do the research and get the knowledge and things they want to go. But most companies have promoted the lone wolf to sales manager because they were the best sales guy in the street. And it never works because that sales guy doesn't know how to teach somebody else what he's done or she's done.
Probably doesn't want to either.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
And what I tell companies, I'm like, why would you take your strongest selling asset out of the field? Let's say they carried a 4 million book of business. Why would you want to take a sales guy away from that? Let him sit on that 4 million and maybe he'll grow it to 6. So I would tell people, if you're looking to grow your sales leadership team, go find the okay sales guy that has aspirations to get in leadership. And then, he's good enough to do sales, but he really wants to lead, train, coach, mentor. Go find that guy and then groom him into a sales leader. Spend the money on him to go through trainings and learnings, get him mentors and everything, and it'll be a game changer for your business quit promoting the lone wolf, because all he's going to do is make a lot of people mad in a very short amount of time.
Yeah. Awesome.
All right.
Well, good.
Well, very good, Donnie. Thanks so much for taking time out of your busy day.
Absolutely.
Thanks a lot,
to give a
Donnie.
little bit here to the program and also to the kids at North Lawndale College Prep.
Absolutely. And gentlemen, next time you go across the lake like that, I want a paddle wheel on the back of the bike so you can actually pedal the whole distance.
Oh, man.
Well, actually, Tommy swam the 60 miles.
Or at least put a stationary bike or something on the,
Yeah, we just hit record on our map, our Garmin, right, as the boat went across.
That's what it looked like you're still going.
Exactly.
Now you thought of that. We should have done that. Take credit for a 60-mile crossing.
Right.
All right. Well, thanks again, Donnie.
Absolutely.
Right.
I appreciate you
Thanks,
guys.
Donnie.
All right. Take care.
All right.
Talk soon.